The sections that I recreated of Good Vibrations, I tried to keep them in sound closer to the original than, we'll say, doing a modern sounding Good Vibrations. Like the original, I kept my recreations in mono. To me, the playing of the track is a little bit loose, and I mean that in the best possible way. It's not like sloppy by any means, but it's a little loose, which I think works well with the vibe of the song. So I tried to recreate that when I was trying to recreate the sections of the tracks. Good Vibrations opens with Carl Wilson's vocal, a Hammond organ played through a Leslie cabinet, and a Fender bass. The bass is played with a pick and it's been pan muted. The bass line's playing a counter melody to the vocal. I love the colorful clothes you wear. To recreate the bass sound, I use my Jazz Fender bass with a pick, pan muted. I put it straight through the DI. I EQ'd it. With regards to EQ, I have 6 dB at 5K, I have 9 dB at 3K, and I have 4 dB at 100 Hz. And it's going through my DBX 568 compressor at about 3 to 4 dB gain reduction. There's more than one bass on Good Vibrations. On the verses, there's 2 basses. There's the pick bass and the double bass. There's also a fuzz bass that plays in different sections of the song. The walking bass line in the chorus, every time I see people play it, and every time I see even tablature of it, it's always played that. Doom, doo, 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 doo. But when I separated the song into stems, you can hear that it's playing this. And here is the stem from the recording. The Beach Boys used a Hammond organ fed through a Leslie cabinet. I don't have a Hammond organ, nor do I have a Leslie cabinet, but I do have some virtual instruments. I used an M-Tron Pro Hammond organ just kind of messing around, and I liked the sound of it because the original Hammond organ virtual instrument that I was using sounded really close to the Beach Boys recording when I put the Leslie cabinet on and tweaked the settings. So I thought, shit man, maybe copyright, you never know. Not saying it sounded exactly like it, but you just never know. As I don't have a Leslie cabinet, I used a Leslie cabinet plugin, which is a really good one from IK Multimedia. I've used it on a few things. I think it's really good. For the percussion, I used my Ludwig kit. I didn't really EQ it that much. I just took a bit of low end off the snare drum because it was really bassy. And I used my tambourine and my shaker and my sleigh bells for the other percussion things. I don't have a jaw harp. There's a jaw harp used on one of those interludes. I don't have that. And I don't have a VST for it. On the verses of Good Vibrations, there's woodwinds. Unfortunately, I don't have any flutes or piccolos here, so I used the Swam Flute VST, which is actually a really good sounding virtual instrument. You can do some kind of cool stuff. They use physical modeling rather than the sampled bass modeling. For the cello, I had initially played a cello VST, but I just don't think these sound great. They sound fine. They sound fine, don't get me wrong, but they do not sound like a real person playing. Not yet anyways. Some things you can get away with, but for something like that, where you're playing these triplets, it just doesn't sound amazing. I don't think it sounds amazing. And I remember thinking, I've heard that cello isolated somewhere before. And then I thought, oh, it's in the Love and Mercy movie. So I had to isolate the cello because there was chatter in the back. And then I edited it. And then I pitched it up with regards to the modulation. So I kept pitching it up with regards to modulation. So yeah. So it's a real cello, but I messed about with it. To recreate the electro theremin on the chorus, I used my theremin, which is a traditional theremin and an electro theremin in one. For the tack piano on the interlude sections, I used the Cine Samples Abbey Road plugin, and I used the J37 delay, which is a tape emulation, but I used just the delay on that tape emulation. For the harmonica, I played a harmonica and I just put it through a stock DAW reverb. For the shaker sound on this section, I used those ice cream sprinkles. They make great shakers. I always use them as shakers. And then I used some sleigh bells. But you can also kind of use jewellery too. It's cool if you double a shaker with a jewellery and kind of put underneath it. It gives this kind of cool sound. A big part of the Beach Boys sound is the harmonies, which are just amazing. And you cannot really replicate that with just one voice. You know, me doing all the harmonies and stuff like that. But I did it on the bridge and it's okay. You just can't replicate that sound. It's their sound. It's an amazing sound. But yeah.
Gotta keep those love good vibrations happening with her. Gotta keep those love good vibrations happening with her. Gotta keep those
Here I will play a bit of the full recreations of the track. I'm not saying I got super close. I think it sounds pretty decent. And that was my video on Good Vibrations. Brian Wilson, what a legend. What a great track. It was fun trying to recreate it. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care. Thank you.
Gotta keep those love good vibrations happening with her. Gotta keep those love good vibrations happening with her.